A few weeks ago, Lamine Yamal, the most expensive teenager on the planet, pushed a shopping cart through a Walmart in Georgia, and almost nobody in the building knew. Yesterday, that same kid won the World Cup on American soil, and most of the people who stood near him in that store will never find out how close they came to a moment they'd have told their grandchildren about. This is really a story about America, about what it looks like when the whole world shows up on your doorstep for one summer, and the biggest name in it walks right past you in the cereal aisle, and you don't even glance up. His name is Lamine Yamal. Back in June, one afternoon, he did the most ordinary thing a 19-year-old can do. He walked into a Walmart in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, a small town just outside Chattanooga, and went shopping. A couple of fans spotted him and quietly filmed it. Everybody else just kept moving. People reached past him for a case of water. They pushed their carts around a young man who carries a release clause of $1 billion, and all they saw was a tall teenager in a hoodie holding up the line. And here's the thing an American audience has to understand, because it's the whole reason this could happen. In most of the world, soccer isn't a sport, it's a religion, and Yamal is one of its saints. He'd already broken out onto the world stage at Euro 2024, the UEFA European Championship, becoming the youngest scorer in that tournament's history at just 16. But in a small town in northwest Georgia, soccer is the thing on Channel 400 that nobody's watching. So when the most gifted young player alive rolled through, he didn't run into a mob. He ran into people who genuinely did not recognize him. That's not a knock on Fort Oglethorpe, that's the punchline. The World Cup came to America and found the one corner of the earth where its brightest star could still be a nobody. And Yamal wasn't the only one. That's what made this summer so strange. For 5 weeks, the biggest names in world sport were just out here, living among people who mostly didn't clock them. A sport that stops entire nations somewhere else had landed in a country where, outside the big cities, it barely moves the needle. And that collision between how the rest of the planet sees these men and how an ordinary American afternoon sees them kept producing these small, perfect moments. Somebody 100 million people would recognize on sight, standing in a checkout line, being asked if they found everything okay today. Nowhere else does that happen the same way. Only here. To understand why that Walmart clip went around the world, you have to know who they were ignoring. Because this kid was part of football history before he could walk, and he didn't know it yet. In September of 2007, a 20-year-old named Lionel Messi posed for a Barcelona charity calendar. Messi was already coming through La Masia, Barcelona's famous youth academy, the same system that had shaped him since he was 13, and the club used players for these kinds of community shoots. A local family had won a raffle to have their baby photographed with a player, and they got Messi. The baby in his arms was 5 months old. That baby was Lamine Yamal, son of Munir Nasraoui and Sheila Abana, the greatest player of his generation, holding the boy who'd grow up to replace him, and neither of them had the faintest idea. That baby became the most valuable teenager the sport has ever produced, and this summer he brought all of it to America, to a country that mostly had no clue who he was. And that gap between who somebody is to the world and who they are to the person standing behind them in line, that's the kind of story this whole channel is built on. So if you're watching this on your television right now, and I know most of you are, do me one favor and press that subscribe button on your screen before we get to the ending. Because the ending is the entire reason I wanted to tell you this. Here's how it ended. Yesterday, 80,000 people packed MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The cheapest tickets were going for close to $10,000. It was the last of 104 matches across a summer that turned the United States into a football country, whether it wanted to be one or not. Spain against Argentina, and the kid from the Walmart lined up to start the biggest game on the planet. For 90 minutes and then some, the two faces from that old photograph were on the same field again, except this time they stood on opposite sides. Messi, 39 years old, playing what is almost certainly his last World Cup. Yamal, 19, only getting started. Messi's one real chance came in the 5th minute. A pass slipped him through with only the Spanish goalkeeper to beat, and for a heartbeat the whole stadium held its breath, because if anyone was going to write the perfect ending, it was him. The keeper got there first, and that was more or less the last time the night belonged to Messi. His Argentina, the defending champions, went the entire first half without a single shot. Not one. They spent the game chasing Spaniards in red, and chasing Yamal most of all. He touched the ball 26 times to Messi's 15, put a shot on goal in the opening minutes, and gave Argentina a problem down the right they never solved. His own coach called him one of the best players on the field. What kept Argentina alive was one man. Their goalkeeper, Emiliano Martinez, made save after save after save, 11 of them by the end, a record for a World Cup final, dragging his teammates toward penalties by his fingertips. Because Argentina were down to 10, their midfielder Enzo Fernandez had picked up a second yellow card in the closing minutes of regulation, and the champions had to play the most important half hour of their lives a man short. Deep into extra time, Spain finally broke through. Ferran Torres in the 106th minute, finishing off a header from Nico Williams. 1-0. And the boy who had been invisible in a Walmart 6 weeks earlier walked off that field in East Rutherford as a world champion at 19 on American soil. Think about that for a second. Somewhere in Georgia, there are people who stood next to a future World Cup winner in a checkout line and never knew. They've got a receipt from that afternoon and no idea what it's really worth. And that, to me, is the most American thing about this entire tournament. Because fame, when you really look at it, is just two things stacked together. It's who a person is, and it's whether the people around them happen to recognize it. Take the recognition away, and the most valuable young athlete on the planet becomes a kid in a hoodie buying a case of water. The whole world came here. The biggest star of the next 20 years walked through an ordinary town on an ordinary afternoon, and the country was too busy living its life to look up. Right until the moment it couldn't look away. As for Messi, he held that baby once, in a photo nobody thought twice about, then spent 19 years becoming a legend, only to hand the game forward to that same child on a field in America. He walked off without the trophy for what is almost certainly the last time, and nobody handed it to the kid. He took it. One photograph, 19 years, and a shopping cart in Georgia. If you want the stories the highlight reels skip, the ones about what this country actually looks like when the rest of the world shows up on its doorstep, that is what we do here. If you are watching on that TV, the subscribe button is right underneath this video. Press it and I will see you at the next one.